All right, looks like we're live. Let me just make sure here. Comments, tools. Okay, cool. All right, welcome to 3 Rules for Efficient Power Training. I'm Anthony Renna, founder of 50 for 50, 50-day body transformation challenge for men in their 50s. Guys, actually going live tonight. So if you're watching this video recorded, it probably means you can sign up for the next challenge, which starts on July 11th. But we do have some early bird bonuses. So if you sign up for July 1st, you're going to get one additional challenge. So this is the 50 for 50 challenge, and we got another one called 50 more. So that's the kind of the progression to after that, and that's a $297 value. And then a 20-minute private goal setting call with me, just to kind of set things up, get things going. Kind of see where you're at, any adjustments you need to make, I can make those with you for the program, and that's another $100 value. So July 1st, if you sign up before July 1st, you'll get those bonuses. So today I'm going to expand on the third upgrade in the ebook, 6 upgrades every man in his 50s needs to make to transform his workouts. I know it's a mouthful, but the third upgrade is power, and we're going to talk a little bit about power training today. So if you haven't downloaded the PDF, you can just click the link below in the description, and you can get it there. And today, like I said, we're going to talk about 3 rules for efficient power training, and those 3 rules are, we're going to expand on these in a minute, but put your power training first, keep the reps low and the rest high. It's a big mistake that so many people make. And then keeping it light and fast. And that's another one. People try to go a little too heavy on this. Got to remember this is about speed. So anyway, we're going to talk more about that. But let's do a quick review. Power is that ability to move weight, right, with speed. So it's not the ability to produce force, which is strength, right? So power declines with age more than strength does. So as much as 17% per decade after the age of 40. That's pretty scary. What's going to suffer? Playing with the kids, beer hockey league, hoops, softball, even navigating walking in the street. Because if you're walking and let's say you trip over something, the ability to kind of recover quickly, that would help. Power training would help with that. So it's being able to kind of catch yourself, have that fast switch muscle fiber firing when you want it. So it's essential for every man in his 50s, and too many men are leaving it out of their workouts. And a lot of times it's either convenience or don't have feel like they don't have the equipment. You don't need too much equipment, because the 2 ways we're going to add power to the program, 2 big ways, 2 easiest ways, are adding med ball throws. So I did a video that is actually linked to the ebook. It's called Med Balls for Old Guys. And in that video, which is again linked in the PDF, and it's also available on my YouTube channel. So I talked about 3 exercises with the med ball that you can build athleticism in power in your upper body. And you just need that one med ball. And you might not be able to do one, kind of requires you to do maybe throwing it up against the wall. You don't want to do it if you do it in your garage, if your wife's home. But, you can do some slams, you can do some other things, and you can find a way to do these 3 exercises. Number 2 would be to add plyometrics for the lower body. And in the workout video, so the PDF or ebook it includes a sample workout, and then I did a video about that sample workout, and there's videos for each exercise. But I also kind of gave you a little primer on how to a prerequisite to doing some jumps. So how to jump safely, how to land safely, which is really a super important part. So check those out in the PDF, and you can see those videos. So for this, I just want to go over those 3 rules that'll help you get the most out of your power training. So the first thing is you want to put your power training first. And that's right after the warm-up. look, speed and power training use high threshold motor units. And basically, it's fast twitch muscle fibers. You've heard of those. And the nerves that control them. So they're not really meant to produce them over a long time. So it's like these short bursts. And that's how we use them. And so they're used in sprints, right? Not marathons. So they really can't last that long. So we want to be as fresh as possible for this training, for this part of the training. And you don't want to burn yourself out doing some strength work and then start doing your speed and power, right? So the quality is going to suffer. The speed of the movement is going to suffer. Again, this is power training. We're talking about speed here. And then you can risk getting hurt for sure. And I've seen it in so many videos and so many of these kind of Instagram influencer type stuff where people are doing these jumps and they're doing them for 30 seconds to a minute. It's just crazy. And again, that quality is going to suffer. The speed's going to suffer. The movement, the quality of the movement is going to suffer. And then you're going to risk getting hurt. So that's one, put it at the beginning of the workout, right after that warm up. Number two is going to keep the reps low and the rest high. So this is a huge one. I just talked about the kind of like you see a lot of programs where they're doing like 30 reps or 30 seconds or a minute and quality just goes to crap. And you fatigue and that's not what we want, right? So the speed's going to decrease, defeating the whole point. So 4 to 6 reps per set with 2 to 3 sets, depending on where you are in your training, is fine. So let's give an example. Like if you golf, you'll really understand this reference. And if you ever go to the range and you hit a ton of balls and you see people just kind of hitting one after the other, right? And what do you notice? You're getting worse. Your swing's becoming crap. And this is the same idea. So you want to keep those reps low, keep the quality high, and then get that proper rest in between. So if you're just doing med balls, minimum, it's going to take you 10 seconds to do these, 4 to 6 reps. Have a minute rest at least in between those. And a lot of times we pair those med balls with the plyometrics. So what happens is, the med ball work is you're getting some rest during the plyos, right? And then your lower body's getting rest for the most part during the med ball. So that 1 minute rest should be enough. I'd like to see it a little bit more. But remember, keep the reps low, take that proper rest in between sets so you keep that quality high and the speed high. And keeping it light and fast is another thing. I think, the ego kind of gets in the way a little bit. And this is not the ability to produce force. It's the ability to produce speed, produce those loads at a higher speed. So we're going to do our strength workout later, later in that workout. Or, obviously, sometimes on another day, sometimes we'll just prescribe some of this stuff, power work, just on its own day. So you got to throw that ego out the door. And for the med ball, for the most part, I use 2 to 6 pounds with my guys. And look, sometimes we do some contrast training. So contrast training with the med balls would be, I'll do like 3 reps with a 10 to 12 pound ball and then finish with the light ball. So I like to finish with that 2 to 6 pound ball. I always want to finish as fast as I can. So, but again, that's not going to be right away. That's going to be at a different phase. It's going to be depend on, what we're doing. Some cues for power work with the med balls would be like break the ball. So we want to hit it so fast and that's why we're going light. So fast, so hard. You want to break that ball. You want to throw it through the wall. You want to slam it through the floor, right? Those are some cues to kind of get your brain thinking about as hard as we can, as fast as we can. For the plyos, it'll be something like when we do a vertical jump, it'll be touch the ceiling. So we can get as high as possible. Or if we're doing some like kind of lateral movements, might be like a cue would be get right back or hot ground. And we wouldn't say it like that. It'd be like get right back, or hot ground. So like you get quick on that one side and get back to the other, quick and then back. So those are just some cues to kind of make you think about this idea about kind of keeping it really fast. So those are the 3 rules. Pretty simple. Put your power training first. Keep the reps low and the rest high, and then keep it light and fast. All right. So just going to I got a couple questions. All right, from one guy, from Anthony. So the biggest, asking like, what's the biggest mistake I'm seeing in power training? And the biggest mistake I think is that we talked about adding way too many reps. That 30-second to a minute, thinking like, this is not a conditioning thing. So it's when they do them too many times and they're continuous, right? So I always try to stay away from continuous reps. I think it's really it's scary for people, especially guys our age, right? You got to remember we're in our 50s, right? And then using those power moves, kind of the same idea for conditioning. That's not the goal here. So I think you get really bad quality, bad form, fatigue, and then injury, and obviously not what we want. I'm sure if you're like me, we got enough going on injury-wise right now to not to worry about that. So let me put what's the next question? All right. So Steve says, from Steve, what if I'm training for a sport and it requires me to be powerful late in the game? Okay. That's a great question. Fair enough. I think, look, bottom line is, do you have the basics covered, right? So do you have that base of conditioning? So conditioning means conditioning. We have a certain time that we do our conditioning, right? We do what we do in 50 for 50 is we have 3 different days where we kind of have our cardio days. And so you have to make sure you're doing that. Do you have that good mix of cardio, right? So let me just pull this up here, sorry. So, when we talk about that, right, what we're talking about is you have that base of conditioning. You do your conditioning and do your conditioning. You do your power and you do your power strength. So what is the goal of that session? We're not going to try to get 42 different things in each session. Like I said, 50 for 50, we do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or really we call it day 2, 4, and 6 as conditioning days. So I want to make sure you're prepared from that perspective. And then, look, are you doing things that are particularly specific for your sport? So, if you're playing basketball, it's going to be different from playing football, from playing baseball, from playing golf, right? So that's it. So, and then same thing, do you have the requisite strength on both spectrums? So good absolute strength. So just being strong and lifting up some getting strong. And we talked about that in the last video, which is on YouTube as well. And then there's muscular endurance too. So have we trained for those things? And have you followed the rules of power training as, what we've been talking about? Getting there safely, keeping the reps low, quality high, good rest. So we want to make sure that is all covered first. Then, depending on your training age, I think we can add the contrast training workout. So with my golfers, what I used to do on a Friday was I would add some contrast training because I felt like it would get this idea, like we'd be working on all this speed. And so that, for those of you that don't know, contrast training is combining a strength movement with a power movement. So we keep the reps low and the quality high there too. So we would do let's say we would do a couple of goblet squats, 6 goblet squats, put that weight down and then do 3 vertical jumps, right? So a similar move, but now without any weight. So we can really get that speed going. And again, 3 reps, quality is really high, speed is really high. So there's a safe way to achieve that and stay powerful late in the game. You can't just jump to your dessert without having your dinner first. So that's it for today, guys. I'm trying to keep these things really quick. I know nobody wants to sit on here for an hour. So remember, if you're watching this recorded, then you can sign up for 50 for 50. The first challenge starts July 11th, but we have some early bird bonuses. One additional challenge you get, it's called 50 more. So we're going to do your 50 for 50 challenge, first one, then in September, you go right into the 50 more. That's a $297 value. And then before we do this, we're going to get a 20-minute call with me. We're going to talk about your goals, talk about any contraindications you have, any kind of modifications that you need. And that's with 20-minute call, it's $97 value. So you got to do that before July 1st. So that's the early bird bonuses. So guys, you can check it all out at 50for50.fit. If you have any questions, let me know through Facebook or YouTube comments, or send me an email to Anthony at 50for50.fit. Thanks, guys.